Hey, this is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, and this is something we're going to do this a little bit new. This is called the post-game pod, and we're just going to talk a little bit about Ole Miss and Auburn that is finishing up tonight and what's going on with it. Everything about that game, just some kind of commentary things, some perspective stuff, and it should be a lot of fun. But anyway, this is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, this is the post-game pod. Basically, Auburn looks like they're going to close out against Ole Miss and win the game. Some stuff that I found pretty interesting from the game that you're not going to hear a lot of because of everything that happened was the war that, kind of happened between Jaemyn Brakefield and Jabari Smith. Jabari Smith, a lottery pick. Jaemyn Brakefield really came up big, especially defensively. Now, if you look at Brakefield's numbers, it's not overly impressive. He went for 10 points. He had 5 rebounds, 5 assists. And if you look at that, it's like, whoa, that's not that great. Well, Jabari Smith, until the very end, did not go off. He did not have an exceptional day by his standards. Right now he has 15 points. There's 57 seconds left in the game. Currently, Auburn is up 78-71. But that battle was something that was worth seeing. If Auburn wins this game, if they close out the next 57 seconds, Walker Kessler deserves all the credit for this win. This was basically his doing. He ended up, right now he has 20 points, 10 rebounds, 6 blocks, 4 steals, and he was just a force. He basically, whenever people call somebody a rim protector, they were talking about what he does. And by the end of the middle of the second half, Ole Miss just would struggle driving the lane, driving to the goal. He was just in their heads. So Walker Kessler is probably the MVP of this game. I've been fairly impressed. Deshaun Ruffin with him. Even though he ended up with 7 points, he had 3 assists, but he ran like a competent point. Matthew Morrell at 13, Nasir Brooks at 14 and 8. Worth seeing that the game's going back on now. That should just about do it. But Ole Miss is basically a young, fragile team. And what I mean by that is they are really good until the first bad thing happens. And then it takes a little bit of time for them to regroup. And while they're trying to regroup, the other team can go on a run. We saw that at the very end of the first half, and we saw it midway through the second half. That allowed Auburn to not just get back into the game, but next thing you know, Ole Miss was down 9 points, and it was essentially over. Auburn is a really good basketball team, by the way. I was unbelievably impressed by them. I had seen a bunch of Bruce Pearl basketball over the years, going back to his time at Wisconsin, Milwaukee. This team is more of a play straight up basketball team. They're athletic. They have high level talent. They have a rim protector. They possibly could be number 1 after this win going in there. So anybody that wants to play the We Are Ole Miss or whatever's going on with this game, they don't understand what's happening. This isn't necessarily a bad basketball team. The talent is there. The flashes are there. Whenever you see that, a half here, a half there, and everything's going on, it's a real thing. And people need to realize that. The problem is those lulls. This is a talented basketball team, but by March, if they phase this out and get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better, they're just going to be hell on somebody at the end of their schedule. It's probably going to be too little too late. I'm not saying that there's anything really at the end of the tunnel. But Auburn won this game 80-71. Like I said, Walker Kessler was the main thing. But this is a good basketball team that has fragile instincts. Florida's going through a lot of the same thing. They beat South Carolina by not much, and it felt like they were winning by 35. And you look at the score, and they're up by 4, and it was crazy. But that was their first SEC win. And they deal with a little bit of that fragile stuff too. Now, with the shooting lull that they can go into and the fragility that they can have, that leads to a little bit of concern with them. But, man, they are really flashing. And what happened in the first half, what happened against Mississippi State, what happened against Memphis, they were not flukes. It's happening too much to be flukes. But the problem is those lulls. And if those lulls can be patched up, they have a chance to be a pretty dangerous team going down the stretch. Now, they may have dug themselves too big of a hole to get out of. I understand that. I mean, you might have done that. And if that's the case, I mean, so be it. There may not be a light at the end of the tunnel for this team. But Matthew Morrell back next year. Deshaun Ruffin back next year. Jaemyn Brakefield back next year. Find a rim protector. Find a shooter. If nothing else happens, find a shooter. And we probably need to see if any of the young guys can fill that role. Was it Eric Vanderheiden, Grant Slatton, and I want to call him James Cook, but that's not it. I'm thinking of Georgia's running back. But you probably need to put them out there and get them some reps. Especially now that the rotation that was 10 players in this game got knocked down to 7. That's no bueno. A 7-man rotation in the SEC is a recipe to get worn down at the end. And I think that happened with Auburn and Ole Miss towards the end of the game. The jump shots, it just looked leggy. And because of all the defensive work that they were having to do, that they had trouble keeping up. Now, I am, like I said, I think this Auburn team is really good. I think this Auburn team has a chance to be number 1 in the country when the next poll comes out for the first time in their history. They are really good. Jabari Smith is an NBA player. He's going to get drafted really, really early. So I don't necessarily believe in moral victories, but in a game like this, you can't really fault them for running out of gas. You can't fault Ole Miss for giving everything they could and running out of gas against Auburn. And Auburn just kind of wore them down. And, man, was it Walker Howard? That guy was a dude. Hey, with an NBA player that could be the first pick in the NBA draft, the 7-foot center that was actually a rim protector is the guy that really impressed me a lot. It's something else. But anyway, Ole Miss moves to 9-6, 9-7, 1-3 in the conference. Auburn moves to 15-1, 16-1, 4-0 in the conference, 5-0 in the conference. Either way, it's a lot. They've won a bunch of games in a row, and they've won a bunch of games on the road. Who was their loss? They got beat by Connecticut, 115-109. Now that's a Bruce Pearl, Wisconsin, Milwaukee score. But they have wins versus LSU. They beat LSU by 15. They beat South Carolina by 15. They beat Florida by 12. They beat Alabama by 4. They beat Ole Miss by 9. And you look at their schedule back and forth, there's not many close games, but in close games, they're able to make shots. And that is what's important to a basketball team. So I'm pretty impressed with this Auburn team. I hadn't really watched them this season. So this was like a blank canvas going in this game. I knew about Jabari Smith, but I was curious. You know, Wendell Green Jr., really fun with his 40-foot three-point shots that he can make. I mean, reminded me a little bit of Steph Moody out there. But all in all, it was honestly what we expected. I mean, you look at the line was 8.5. I think it might have went down to 7.5. Ended up at 9. But Ole Miss just ran out of gas. They played 8 players. And because of that, they wore down at the end because Auburn would go 10, 11, 12 deep. It was pretty impressive what Bruce Pearl has going on. And I am really curious to see them the rest of the year. Ole Miss has, I think, Missouri Tuesday. We are going to do a virtual watch party on the Ravon app. And you can download the Ravon app from your app store. And you can sign up for it and select Ole Miss as your favorite team, Ole Miss basketball. And you'll have lineup, stats, a play-by-play. And there's going to be a chat feature in there that I will be a part of during the course of the game. Normally, I tweet out information. I'm going to be doing all of my basketball stuff on the Ravon app moving forward. So that's another surprise. So that is Tuesday night. And then Tuesday night after the game, we are going to do another post-game pod. So it should be a lot of fun. This one is, it's been, fairly short, but, the first half was so encouraging for Ole Miss basketball. I mean, so much fun. I mean, I genuinely had a lot of fun seeing all that. They played with confidence. They played in a way that they spread out and they would drive and dish and get wide open threes. And they're so good when they play like that. In the second half, because that rim was so blocked and Walker Howard did such a good job, that drive was cut off, and all of a sudden the Auburn players could suck out wide on Matthew Morrell and those guys on the outside that made those three-point shots a little bit more difficult. So that's kind of what happened. It wasn't a situation where this was any type of bad team or anything like that. No team really melted down. You could blame Ole Miss for the little bit of a lull in the second half that allowed Auburn to take it. I think it was a 20-5 run. And because of that, whenever Walker Howard just took over the game. Plain and simple. So this has been the post-game pod. Please listen to our sponsors after this. I'm going to put those in there so they can play. And I hope everybody enjoys it and tune in next time for the post-game pod on Tuesday, and also tune in Monday for, a little visit reaction, and of course, a little bit more on this game if I think about it. So thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Subscribe and hit the bell. You'll not only know that we have a video, you'll know what that video is about. So please do that. But, of course, I want to say hotty toddy, basically. Good job, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you Monday. Take care. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy betting year. As we continue our march to playoffs and beyond, BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code LOCKEDON to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. It's the new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good. You'll actually want to eat it, unlike other protein bars that can be chalky, waxy, or taste like a chemical spill. You want to eat healthy, but it just gets so boring. So by week 3, you might be thinking, this is just not worth it. Where's the chocolate? Well, Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Here's an idea for the new year. Go to all your secret stashes, at home, in the pantry, at the office, in the car, wherever. Throw out all the sugary, calorie-filled treats and replace them with Built Bars. So when you're craving a snack or treat, you can reach for something that's healthy and taste incredible. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built Bar. This is it, the putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours, but on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software? To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. Over 27,000 businesses already use NetSuite, and right now, through the end of the year, NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program to those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/lockedonnca. Head to netsuite.com/lockedonnca for your special end-of-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. That's netsuite.lockedon. That's netsuite.com/lockedonnca. So you give those guys a good look. They're the #1 cloud financial system that will help power your growth, and basically, it's a pretty good deal. So give them a call, netsuite.com/lockedonnca.